This episode of the Golf Guru Show is brought to you by InVeedHemp.com. As golfers, you know the game creates wear and tear on your body and mind. InVeed CBD products can organically rejuvenate you. They come in 3 varieties: Relief, Clarity, and Relax. Relief CBD products help relieve pain. Clarity allows you to focus on those critical shots. And Relax CBD products are for those anxious golf moments. Right now, I've got an incredible special for you. Go to InVeedHemp.com and use the promo code GURU20 for a 20% discount for life.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
You know how to cut to the core of me, Baxter. You're so wise. But like a miniature Buddha covered in hair.
I want to become a guru so girls will like me. Then I will like myself.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules. Rule number 1, no touching of the hair or face.
Of course.
And that's it! Now let's do this!
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Golf Guru Show. I hope everybody is safe and healthy out there and staying inside as much as you can. I am Jason Sutton, and I am the Guru, where it is my mission to interview the top golf instruction minds in the business, break them down, and get them to share all their stories, best practices, and information that have made them all great and successful, and ultimately share it with all of you so we can all get better at teaching and coaching. Make sure you download this episode and all previous episodes of the Golf Guru Show and hit that purple subscribe button so you don't miss any future shows that will be coming your way. On today's episode, we go outside the golfing realm as I am joined by Major League Baseball star Wil Myers. You can follow him on Twitter at Wil Myers, it's WILMYERS, and Instagram at Wil_Myers. Wil is a new student of mine and someone that I've gotten to know pretty well over the last month during this COVID-19 pandemic, as we've played several rounds of golf together. I worked on his game a little bit, and I have also had the privilege to watch him work out in the batting cage and work on his craft and then pick his brain about hitting baseball and golf. We've had some really cool conversations, and it's amazing how many parallels we've found in baseball and golf, in which, you know, as a curious coach like myself, I find that very interesting, which is why I had to get him on the show so we could kind of dig into some of the things, his mindset, the way he plans every at bat, which is really cool, and then some of the drills that he does in his practice, and then really, you know, a lot of interesting things that you can take away from a high-performing professional athlete that you don't get to hear every day. So, you know, Wil's had a great career in the big leagues, and he was gracious to kind of share what he's learned through the good times and the tough times when he was battling some injuries. So his mindset on that, and then coming back strong. And I think you'll find there's a ton of great knowledge and insight that you can apply to your coaching and your life in this great conversation with MLB superstar and San Diego Padre, my friend Wil Myers. Enjoy. So, Wil, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's this is going to be fun. Thanks for having us
No doubt.
in your house giving us the tour.
Yeah.
This is really cool. We're coming to you from the little
ping pong room.
Yeah, the ping pong room with some cool memorabilia.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
And what's your favorite piece in this room?
I mean, the Jeter jersey's up there. I mean, that was pretty cool. I got that one his last year. I mean, I got to play against him for 2 years, so it was really cool. He was a guy I got to watch growing up, and to be able to have a video, his jersey here signed is pretty cool, and to be able to play against him was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's
Ortiz as well. He's great. I mean, I got to see him in his prime do his thing, so it was really cool. Those 2 jerseys right there are nice to have.
Awesome. So I want to start in a place that you probably wouldn't think, but I know we've spent some time together the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We've played a few golf rounds together, had a lesson, and it was cool. My favorite part, because I'm just a teaching geek,
Sure.
was watching you train.
Yeah.
Right, and watching you do your drills and watching some BP,
Mm-hmm.
which was super cool. But I want to start with what you talked about as your plan as a hitter's mindset. What it reminds me of as far as golf goes is almost like a pre-shot routine.
Sure, yeah.
Right? It's
Exactly
preparing
like
your
that.
body, preparing your mind to perform at the highest level.
Sure.
So can you go into a little bit of depth in that?
Yeah. So I guess the one way to kind of really relate that is, as when you're executing a plan, especially as a, is that doing that?
Yeah. What's going on there?
Are we good?
Yeah. Turn it. Yeah. Sorry. Turn the phone down.
Just as a hitter, what you want to do is you want to execute your plan. The job of a pitcher is to really take you off your plan, set up pitches, throw certain pitches in certain spots to get you off your plan. But as a hitter, what you want to do is stick to what makes you the best you can be. And for me, it's one of those things that I like to keep it simple. I got two things that I really like to focus on. I don't want to go really in depth on what they are. I don't want any pitchers here.
I was going to say we don't give away all your secrets, right?
Right. But there's two things that I like to really focus on at the plate. Whenever I have the ability to block out everything else in my mind and whatever the pitcher's throwing, I have the ability to really execute and have a good at bat. And I think for me in golf, I think it's very similar. My golf routine, I really focus on hitting the inside of the ball and staying through. And when I think of those things, when I execute that plan in golf, it really allows me to take a good shot, have a good shot. And, I feel like those are the things right there, or that is the main thing for me that really puts me in a good place to execute what I need to do on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was kind of interesting because I'm always looking at how I can relate that back to like TrackMan numbers.
Sure, yeah.
And you talked about being neutral, right? Always trying to hit the ball up the middle.
Take to the middle, yeah.
Yeah, can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
That's a big thing, especially even golf and baseball. It's direction. I feel like in golf and in baseball too, a lot of times your swing can get going left or get going right. I think it's important to always have that direction through the middle. Even in golf, you want to have that line right at your target. And with baseball too, my line is through the middle of the field to center field. So each time I take a swing, whether it be golf or baseball, it is very focused on direction because that's the thing that keeps you in line with where your target is and allows you to take a good swing.
Yeah, I like that. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's take the listeners back to your childhood.
Okay, let's
right?
do it.
Yeah, I mean, you probably don't get to talk a lot about sort of how you fell in love with the game, and
sure.
So talk about the early days, and then what's your first memory of playing baseball?
Yeah, no, I started pretty much like anybody would start baseball at the t-ball level. I just remember my dad taking me to play t-ball. I remember really falling in love with the game then. I felt like I was had a very good idea of what I was doing on the baseball field. I felt like I was very good at a young age, so it was one thing that I stuck with. I'm a pretty big competitor, so to be able to play baseball and compete at that was a lot of fun. And I feel like that's what kept driving me to keep playing. For me, it was just the thing that came easiest to me, and it was something that I've always enjoyed. Growing up when I was younger, we didn't go on vacations. We were always at the ball field.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't trade that for anything. That was what I loved to do. I never got burned out of it. I've always just enjoyed playing baseball. So for me, it's been a fun experience. It's been something that I get to do for a long time. It was been my dream to play baseball, and to be able to make that happen has been pretty cool.
No other sports growing up?
I played I played basketball. I played football up until middle school, and then once I got to the high school level, I just focused on baseball. I felt like for me, I transferred to a different high school to play, and I felt like for me it was time to take it more serious, and I felt like that was something for my future, and I really wanted to work on it.
Yeah, so you go to High Point, right? Talk a little bit about that, because that's when you really started to get, like you said, serious about the game.
Sure, absolutely. When I went to high school, I went to Wesleyan Christian Academy. I got to play for Scott Davis, who was the coach there. It was great to get in that program. That was a program that had a long line of guys who they sent to college, and was able to get into that program, learn a lot about baseball, learn from Coach Davis. It was great for me. I got to be around a lot of great players, and I felt like at that point was you got to play in front of scouts and college coaches, and that was really cool. You don't get to do that at a lot of places, and to be able to go to a high school like that and to give me that exposure was big. And also too, playing a lot of showcase baseball. I don't know if golfers know a ton about that, but that's more about like the summer ball type stuff. I played for a great organization in the Dirtbags. Those are the guys that really put me in front of the pro scouts to be able to go out there and showcase my abilities for those guys. So it was a lot of fun, man. When the ages of 15 to 18 years old was a lot of fun for me in the high school years, and was able to have a lot of great exposure and continue my career after that as well.
Yeah. So freshman year, you're pitching.
I'm pitching.
So that's that's the cool thing when I've done my research about your career is you played a lot of different positions.
Absolutely.
So you were 10-0 as a pitcher.
Yeah, 10-0.
I'm not bringing you again ever, Nick. Hold that thing up. So, yeah, you're 10-0 as a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so your pitching was great. I think most position players in pro baseball miss pitching. It was that time to be able to get on the mound, really compete. I had a lot of fun at it. My junior year, I was 10-0 on the mound. Was able to go out there and really compete against the high school level. It was a lot of fun, man. It was something that.
So did you catch at that point too?
I did. I was catching. Yeah, I was.
That's
actually,
not typical.
No, it's not typical. No, I was actually drafted as a catcher.
I know. That's why I was like, that's sort of strange.
Yeah. So I caught my first year in pro ball. It was a lot of fun. It was cool to be able to actually catch in pro ball my first year because I got to learn a lot about the professional game from behind the plate. So it was good. That was a great experience for me. But I think I found a home in the outfield. So I'm good there.
Yeah. So you go through freshman year. You're obviously playing at a high level at a very young age, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
You did mention something the other day as we were talking about Nick that's sitting here, going through some kind of ebbs and flows.
Sure.
And you talked about because you commit to South Carolina your junior year, and you guys had a really good team, and you said you had a little bit of a slump there.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
how did you get through that, and what do we think happened?
I think one of those things, it was my junior year. My junior year was actually my worst of my high school seasons as far offensively.
Which is when you want to be your best.
Which is when exactly, when you want to be your best. So I had a tough offensive year with at the high school level, but I felt like for me, it wasn't one of those things. I definitely worked to get better at the hitting, but I feel like for me it was one of those things that, I feel like young players, whatever sport it is, sometimes things just click for you. It wasn't one thing that some drill somebody showed me.
So it wasn't like a technique change?
No, it wasn't really even
a technique.
Yeah, no, it wasn't even a technique change. I really do believe there's moments in young athletes' careers where something just clicks for them. Another one for me too. I remember my first two professional seasons, I didn't hit more than 14 homers, and then my third professional season I hit 37.
I was gonna say.
So it was one of those things. I didn't try to hit more homers. I didn't try to do anything else. I think at times, in young athletes, things just start click at a later date at times, and I feel like for me, it was one of those things. The summer after my junior year, something clicked for me, and was able to go out and produce better results. So I think it was one of those things that at times, young players don't really know what's going on, and at times you just got to kind of wait it out before that one thing clicks for you.
Yeah, and so you get drafted, right? So talk us through that process. I mean, that has to be really exciting.
Yeah.
Do you think you're going to have a chance? Like, talk about that
Sure.
day.
So I guess going into my senior year, I was committed to South Carolina. I'd had no real thought of going pro. I didn't really think about draft. No, okay. I was dialed into going to South Carolina. I didn't know a ton about the draft at the time. But going into the draft, I think it was like a week before the draft, I started to feel like, oh, you know what, bro, I might actually be going pro.
You're getting calls?
I'm getting calls.
You're probably getting some feelers out there, right?
So, probably a few months leading up to the draft, major league teams. So I met with all 30 of them.
Okay.
So they send questionnaires in. They send people to the high school games. They come into the house. They talk to them. So I had at that point was like, wow, this is getting pretty serious. Get to the draft. Was able to go in the third round. Very excited about that. And I was drafted by the Royals, pick number 91, and we came to terms with an agreement on the signing bonus and a
couple mil there. Yeah. That could have been bad for you, man.
That was pretty nice at 18 years old.
Yeah.
But you get that and you're like, man, here we go. I packed up my bags and went out to Idaho Falls, Idaho.
Say, I want to know the minor league stories because you go to Idaho, you got
Burlington, Iowa. Man,
yeah,
I've been all over the place. I'll tell you what, so I went. I played 22 games after I signed. Went to Instructs, which is a fall type baseball for professionals that are, you just get drafted. First year draft, second year draft. You go out after the season, get some extra work in. I go to my first spring training, go out to Burlington, Iowa. I'm out there for a month. I remember calling my mom, being like, "Man, I don't know if I think I made the wrong choice. This is not for me. I should have went to college." But I'll tell you what. The one thing that the minor leagues does is it teaches you to grow up. It's one of those things like, hey, man, you're on your own. If you ain't going to figure it out, and there's nobody here to help you.
The travel part's got to be
the travel stuff. 14-hour bus rides. It's tough, man. But it's a lot of fun, man. It really makes you appreciate where I'm at now. It's you put in the grind. You got to work to get to to the highest level. But the minor leagues taught me a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely a grind. With the travel, the food, the hotels, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun, man. It teaches you the game, which is great. Had met a lot of great friends in the minor leagues. Made some great relationships. It's a time that I really, looking back on, I'm very appreciative. But at times, it was definitely a grind.
Any good stories you could share? Anything you could remember?
Man, I mean, other than crying to my mom saying I should have went to college, but other than that, nah, man, it was a grind, man. I think at the minor league level, everybody knows it's like, hey, we're here to get to the next level, to keep going, to keep trying to chase that dream. So it was it was a lot of grind, but it was a lot of fun as well.
So you get to the biggest stage before the show is Bull Durham, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the Durham Bulls.
Yeah.
So you get called up to that. So was it sort of a steady climb as far as your skill development?
Sure.
Going through those different ranks. You played for 3 or 4 different teams.
Sure. Yeah. So
you probably you're waiting for that call, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot of people don't know. In the minor league system, there's 5 to 7
right,
minor league levels.
That.
Yeah. So there's 2 rookie ball levels that are low that I was able to start out above those, and then the more levels you go up, each level is tougher and tougher. The competition gets tougher and tougher. So, it's one of those things you have to adjust to the league. I remember when I got first called up to AA, I got finally put in a position where I felt like these guys were really, really good. These pitchers were really good. They could really locate the ball. They could pitch inside for the first time. That I, coming up in the high school level and even the lower minor leagues, people didn't really know how to command their pitches. But at the AA level, these guys were able to command both sides of the plate. It was an adjuster for me. The first time I went to AA, I actually had a tough year in 2011. I was hurt a little bit through that, but had to make some big adjustments.
That was Northwest Arkansas,
Northwest
right?
Arkansas, yeah, in AA. Went home, did some different things at the plate, and was able to come back the next year. Started in AA and made those adjustments to get to.
So
to
talk
get to
a little bit about that. You can't go past that.
Yeah. So the adjustments, like I said before about these guys able to locate pitches. Coming up, everybody wanted to pitch away. And then when you get to the AA level, guys are throwing mid-90s that can command the inside part of the plate. I had to do a better job of being able to pull my hands inside and get through the middle of the field with those. Because it's easier with the ball out over the plate. You can get your hands extended, but once you get to that higher level and they are able to get the ball in on you, you have to have the ability to get inside that baseball. So for me, that was the adjustment for me to be able to hit the inside pitches a lot better. And I think from there on, going to AAA was a little bit more adjustment, but the big leagues, is obviously the biggest one.
Yeah. So you go to Durham. You guys win a championship. Saw the ring.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Then you get the call.
Yeah.
So tell me, is it? I love the movie The Rookie.
Yeah, it's
right?
great. Yeah, it was
he's
great.
on the phone. He's talking to his wife. Like, tell us about.
So I actually had
go?
a pretty good story. So in 2013, I played 2 months with Durham. So I was with Durham for 2 months, and on Father's Day, we were playing a Sunday game. I had one at bat. I hit a double my first at bat. I go out to right field. We get one out in the inning. And then all of a sudden I see a player coming from the dugout running to right field, and they're bringing me in the second inning. I'm like, this isn't right. This has never happened to me before.
Yeah.
I come in, the manager's like, hey, you need to see the trainer in the training room. I'm like, what's going on with this, right? Like, as soon as when he told me to see the trainer, I started putting 2 and 2 together. Like, this is... So I go in and see the trainer. He's got a flight for me to Boston in 2 days. He's like, hey, you guys got the call. You got the call. You're going up.
So the trainer tells you?
Yeah, the trainer tells
That's
me. That's
weird.
Well, so the trainer tells me. It wasn't even after the game.
Not the coach?
No. So after the game finishes, the Charlie Montoya, who's actually the manager for the Blue Jays right now, he's the one who called me and was like, hey, congratulations. But what was even cooler about that was on Father's Day, my dad was there in Durham with me watching the game.
Wow.
So I got to go in. I got the flight to Boston. I called my parents, so my mom, my dad, my brother, and both sets of grandparents were actually in the stands that day. I called them. They came down. It was an exciting moment. It was
June 17th.
Yep, June 17th. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
That's actually my anniversary.
Yeah, you'll never forget it. There you go.
There it is.
So got the call. Flew up to Boston. They had the day off on the 17th, and the 18th was my debut. We played a day-night doubleheader in Boston. We played 18 innings that day. It was a day I'll never forget. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I do remember, driving to the field that morning. playing the day game. I remember driving in the cab and seeing Fenway Park and being like, dang, dude,
that's a cool place to
that's
start.
where I'm going to work today.
That is so awesome.
It was cool. It was really cool.
So what's the difference between the show and then like AA?
Yeah, they're all really good, man. I mean,
like there's got to be the existential stuff too, right?
Sure,
The locker room and how much more stuff you get taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, from the minor leagues to the big leagues, we're obviously taken care of a lot more. But I tell you what, from the offensive side, from the minor leagues to the big leagues, that the opposing pitching coach has already watched me for the last 2 weeks. There, my previous 50 at bats, that opposing pitching coach is going in there and be like, okay, here's a hole, here's a hole, here's a hole. Let's attack this way, and this way. So going into that, they already know how you're feeling currently, and what you're hitting well. And then they also have great big league pitchers who are up there able to execute as well. So at the highest level, these guys are very prepared. There's a lot of information that goes into it on scouting reports. So I would say the biggest adjustment is just that information. To be able to scout and be able to come in prepared each and every game.
Obviously, you were ready because you come in hot.
Yeah,
when you come in, you win Rookie of the Year at like the least amount of games ever
for a
position player.
Right,
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
what do you think? Did something else click, or you just think I was just ready to be there?
Yeah, I think for me, what was nice, the Rays did a nice job. I was getting hot in AAA at that time, and they called me up at a great time, and I felt like I was able to kind of go in, feeling good at the plate, and was able to kind of keep that going. But the cool thing about my rookie year, obviously winning Rookie of the Year was cool, but I think the biggest part of that was actually going to the postseason that year. I'll never forget, we were in Toronto, game 162, so the last game of the season. We had to win that game, and Texas had to lose for us to get the second wild card. We won, Texas won, so we had to play a game 163, so a one-game playoff to go into the to get into the wild card. We flew into Texas. David Price beat the Rangers that day. That was crazy. We clinched. I remember popping bottles in there, the champagne. It was great. We go to the wild card game. We win the wild card game, which was unbelievable. We were in Cleveland. It was a great experience. And then I remember one of the cooler experiences I've had was kind of going into Boston, game 1 of the ALDS, and just getting my name called out, taking the line. And just being like, wow, dude, I'm in the playoffs.
You made it.
Yeah, I'm in the playoffs at 22 years old. It was really cool. It was really cool.
That's when you felt like you finally made it.
Yeah, that was an extremely surreal moment for me. I think one of the coolest moments for me actually in the big leagues was, I think it was like my 15th game or something, or maybe like 8th game. We were playing the Yankees, and it was my first trip into Yankee Stadium, and when I was younger, I used to play this game called MVP Baseball 2005, and I always played with the Yankees, and I always pitched with Andy Pettitte. So, and I remember playing the video game. The video game is always the catcher's view from the pitcher pitching. And I remember we were playing the Yankees, and Pettitte was pitching. I was like, oh, my God, this is crazy. So I stand in the batter's box. I get in the batter's box in there. Andy Pettitte's on the mound, and Andy Pettitte has this thing where he kind of puts the glove, over his face. And I remember getting in the box and being like, this is the exact view I had when I was playing video games with Andy Pettitte pitching. And I just remembered that moment. That was a really cool moment for me to be like, man, I remember seeing this as a kid, and now I'm here live. That was a very, very cool moment for me.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
So I know we talked earlier, and you mentioned it about stats, right? So guys are scouting you.
Sure.
You're scouting pitchers, and we had that conversation the other day at the batting cages. Like, how much preparation do you do on other pitchers? Like, do you watching video?
Yeah.
And then we can kind of go through the rest of the last few years of your career. But I mean, that's sort of interesting to me, is like how much.
Yeah. So video is very important. I think for a lot of big league hitters, especially in the bullpens at the big league level, there's new guys that kind of come up and down a lot.
Yeah.
So it's good, if we're facing, the Giants or something, they just brought up a rookie pitcher. So we already have the video on all the pitches he's throwing at the AAA level, any pitches he's throwing at the big league level. We have the ability to go in there, see what the fastball is doing, see what the slider slider's doing, figure out if he has any type of tendencies and anything like that. And then you also have on the other side, if you face, I face Madison Bumgarner 60 times. It's like, hey, I know what this guy's doing.
Yeah.
That maybe, you do like a little refresher. Okay, I've seen that. It's not as much time, especially if you've seen a guy over and over. But, if you get a guy that you've never seen before, it's very good to go in there, see his pitches, see what the ball is moving, see what his off-speed pitches is doing, find out any tendencies. But you also want to keep it simple too. You can look at all this information, but at the end of the day, you still got to go up there and execute your plan.
Got your plan.
Yeah, you got your plan. Okay, I know this guy's got a good two-seamer. I know he likes to throw a slider here, but if I'm prepared and ready to hit this fastball at the middle, I will be able to adjust off those. So it's finding some good information in there that can help you at times, but also not getting too much that takes you off what makes you good.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you're 2014. Now you're starting.
Yep.
Right, but you're in the outfield, right?
Yep.
So it's interesting how you've kind of moved around. You got drafted as a catcher.
Drafted as a catcher, yeah. So I was drafted as a catcher 1 year there, then went to right field in 2011, center field in 2012, 2013 and 14. And 15, I was in right field. 2016, 17, they moved me to first base, and then 18, 19, I've been back in the outfield. So it's been a lot of fun, be able to play a lot of different positions. It's cool to be able to kind of have some experience at all those types of things. Especially after my career, I have the ability to teach some guys different positions that I've played. So that's cool. But it's been nice, man. It's kind of cool. Not everybody gets to say they played all over the field. So it's kind of cool to be able to say that.
Well, it kind of leads me into sort of advice for young kids, right? Is like having that versatility.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just an athlete.
Yeah, just
right?
An
You're
athlete,
just playing a game.
Sure.
Don't get locked into being in one position. Maybe learn other positions. I mean, you did it all, man.
Yeah.
I mean, really, not too many people get the opportunity to catch.
Right. Yeah.
You may play a little infield and then go to the
short
outfield.
second.
Right.
Right.
But that's I think that's great advice. If you had to give some advice to young kids at this point, I'm sure you've had to do this, right?
Yeah.
You get kids all the time. They're looking up and say, hey, how do I get to that level? Like, well, what do you tell them?
Yeah, no, I mean, first and foremost, it's work. You have to put in the work to get better. But I think a lot of things too. I've definitely seen, recently, guys, dads and coaches put in a lot on them. Here, do this, do that, do all these different things.
The parents are a whole nother dynamic, right?
Yeah, they're a whole nother dynamic.
It's just like golf.
It's just, I guess so. It's like all sports and parents. But I think at the end of the day, it's all about having fun. I mean, when you're able to play golf at the highest level, or baseball at the highest level, or any other sport at the highest level, you're always having fun doing it. And I get, double bogeying a hole is not fun, striking out's not fun, but at the end of the day, it's how you respond. And I think, I've seen a lot of young kids too. When they strike out, they make an error, they get really upset. At the end of the day, in baseball and golf and life and whatever, it's all about how you respond after the fact. So you strike out, you double bogey a hole, it's how you come back the next hole, it's how you come back the next at bat. So it's I think for me, it's just getting back up. When you fail, you just get back up and go right back at it. So I think that'd be the biggest advice for me. Just keep getting back up.
Well, and that's a great lead in, because I talk a lot about on this podcast is people that have achieved great things have always gone through adversity.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And in the rest of your career, you've had some injuries.
Sure. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, because you go to 2000. When you get traded, before you get traded, you get hurt.
Yeah.
For the first time, like like a fluke accident.
Yeah, with my wrist.
You just run into somebody. Go probably hustling, right?
Right.
And then you get hurt. Your wrist gets hurt. So talk through that. And how do you overcome that?
Yeah. So it's definitely, when you go through, at that time I was 23 at that time, and that was the first time I'd ever really been hurt.
Yeah.
So all through high school, all through the minor leagues, I stayed very healthy. Never went through anything like this. Had a surgery for the first time.
Right.
I think for me, I was put in a situation that I'd never been in before. Being hurt, having time off. But I think it especially. The one thing I really learned going through that was to be tough. I think a lot of times, you go through things. I had my wrist was bothering me. I'd never really felt any pain before, and I felt like for me it was one of those things that I had the ability to learn through teammates that I was with, through older guys that I played around, to just be tough, And I think at the end of the day, when you go out there and you're playing 162 games, there's things that that might be bothering your ankle, your wrist, your hamstring, whatever it is.
You probably always got a little nicked up, right?
You always got something. But
play
at the
through
end,
it.
At the end of the day, the toughest thing to do every single day is to be able to go out there and play. And once you get through that, the rest you just go out there and just have fun. So I feel like, a lot of times too, some of my better games have come when, something hasn't felt right, or I'm sick or whatever. And I feel like, if you get over that mental hurdle of, hey, I can play today, I can get through this, a lot of times you go out and have your better days.
So then you get traded.
Then I get traded,
to where you are now, San Diego.
Yeah.
So talk about that, and then you go back to the outfield. You're starting as center fielder, which is awesome, and you guys are sort of rebuilding, it sounds like, a little bit, getting some new players in there.
Yeah, it was cool. Going out to San Diego, seeing another part of the country that I've never been. Yeah,
hard to beat that place.
It's hard to beat San Diego.
Yeah.
It's a great place to be. The weather's great every day. The fans are great. The ballpark's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, I think for me, just getting traded in that experience, it was fun to kind of, go see a different culture, go see a new team, have new teammates, go through a rebuilding process.
Probably your first wake-up call that this is a business.
Yeah, this is a business.
It's not personal.
It's not personal.
They all still love you there.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, at the big league level, man, you're just even at the minor league level, you're just a number, man. And you just kind of accept it and be like, hey, man, I got to go out here and do my job today. Whatever it is, whatever they say, you just got to go do. It's never personal. It's always business. And at the end of the day, we're paid to go out there and play, and that's just what we got to do. So, but as far as being in San Diego, it's been a lot of fun. I've had a lot of made a lot of great relationships, and right now I feel like we're on a great plan. I feel like our GM has done a great job of rebuilding this, and I think going into this season we have a great team, and I feel like we're going to be able to do some things this year.
Yeah, so you go 2016, like I said, you kind of on and off the DL there, just trying to rehab that wrist.
Yeah,
and when you get
I had the oblique. So the oblique was 2000.
How did that happen?
So I had a lower back injury that I was playing through at the time. I was rehabbing that, just trying to get through, and that was what kind of caused me to pull my oblique. So that was a tough injury. That was not really a fluke injury. That was like a real muscle. Had to rehab that back. That was a tough one. That was a 2-month. I mean,
wow.
I went for almost a month where it was painful to sneeze. It was tough. That was really my test. Could I sneeze without it hurting? But that was a difficult time. Going through a rehab process is not always easy. It's you definitely get stir crazy. You want to push an injury. You're like, no, I can push through this. But at the end of the day, a lot of times you have to just sit back and wait for those things to really heal. Yeah,
and so then you hit for the cycle on my birthday.
Oh, there you go.
10th,
Nice.
2017.
Yeah.
Do you love playing at the Rocky Stadium? Sounds like
I do. Yeah. You know what? That's a great place to hit. I think most people who follow baseball know that Denver's a great place to hit. I've always enjoyed going there. The ball flies there. You have the ability to see the ball well, and the outfield's deep, so it's nice to be able to get those triples there and finish.
The ball
off that
travels.
Slider. Yeah, the ball travels a little bit. They say the sliders don't spin as much, but then the ball goes further. So I'm all about it.
You sign your big deal, which has to be a big load off your shoulders.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
When you get that love from the organization, and say, hey, we want you to be around for a while. Did that help free you up, you think?
Yeah. I think, at the end of the day, we're playing this as our job, and we're trying to make money for our families. So I think at the end of the day, for me, that definitely takes a lot of pressure off.
Sure.
But, at the end of the day, those pressures are still there. It's like, I don't care if you're making a ton of money or making nothing, striking out 4 times still sucks, So it's, as far as that load with financially, that's been great. But, you still, every big leaguer has pride, and they want to go out there and keep playing well. Money doesn't just make all the problems go away. You still feel that, and you want to play to your potential. So
more pressure, you think, or less?
Yeah,
a little bit.
It's a slippery road.
Sure.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. But at the end of the day, we go out there and play. And regardless of how much money you make, you got to go out there and perform, and that's what it's all about.
It looks like you were basically finally healthy, right? You hit 30 home runs that year, 20 stolen bases.
Yeah.
Like you're doing it all.
Yeah, feeling good. Feeling good.
So we got to get you back to that.
Got to get back. That's right. So and you know what? I had a great off season this year. I actually had the ability to work with Tony Womack. I don't know if you know that name.
Yeah.
So he lives here in Charlotte.
Yeah, I know that. He's a good player, good golfer too.
Yeah, he's a great golfer. Anyway, I worked with him this off season. He was great for me. So I'm excited to put that into play. I was able to have a little bit of spring training before that got cut short, but was really executing what I worked on this off season. So looking forward to baseball getting started up again and being able to execute that.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's talk about your training. I've got a couple of topics here.
Yeah, let's do it.
And then we can talk a little bit of hitting strategy and stuff.
Cool.
But I've saw some of your videos and through your career, it looks like you're really trying to mix it up. I've seen you boxing. I've seen you throwing footballs around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Strength training. Obviously, I think you put some weight on, and now you probably slim back down again.
Sure.
I mean, you got to figure out what works for you, right?
Right.
So speed and agility sounds like a big part of it.
Speed and agility is big. I
Talk about your training.
Yeah, so for me, I think one of the main things to consider when working out for baseball is that we play almost 200 games a year, right? Including spring training. So at the end of the day, you don't want to be too big. You got to be able to move, especially as an outfielder. There's a lot of running, so you don't want to put a huge load on. I think for me, one of the big things with working out in the off season is just getting more athletic, having that stamina, being athletic. I go to a basketball gym and honestly run through a basketball practice. I don't play pickup or do anything crazy like that, but I go through my own practice. I have my trainer who comes out, come off a pick, shoot a three, get to the basket, whatever it is, just staying athletic.
Interesting.
I think for me, especially as an outfielder, it's great for my legs because running on that hardwood floor really gets my legs in shape. And I think for me, with the explosive moves that I make on the basketball court, I feel like really turns into speed. I feel like it really turns into helps me with my burst and stealing bases. So for me, I feel like a lot of my training comes from staying athletic. I feel like that's one of my big keys to make me successful in baseball and in golf. Is just staying athletic. So I definitely stay in the weight room and do my things, but I really focus a lot on athleticism. Throwing the football is great. That's great for my arm. It's great for the shoulder, throwing something heavy like that. It's great for, keeping your arm without letting your arm get too big or keeping your shoulder up. So those are good things. I think you can find a lot of things in other type of sports that really help you stay athletic in the sport that you're currently working on. So for me, I go out and do some basketball stuff. I do any type of athletic stuff. A lot of times in my training, I run football patterns like what wide receivers do.
That's cool.
So it's any way to stay athletic, I feel like translates for me onto the field.
How much, what's the percentage of, we talked about this a little bit the other day, batting versus like fielding and throwing? Right. So heavy in batting, would you say? You try to keep your technique, keep your eye? Yeah,
it's definitely heavy on the offensive side. If I definitely work more on offense than defense. A lot of times, doing the defensive stuff, especially in the outfield, you really need the ball off the bat. So there's not a ton you can do here. And getting the ball off the bat off a high schooler is not really the same thing. So going into spring training, that's where you really get a lot of your defensive stuff. Now, I definitely work on my jumps, my sprints here, but as far as like real baseball activity work, a lot of the outfield drills come during spring training, and during the season, once a series, twice a week, you go through a couple drills to kind of keep your skills up, things like that, throw to bases, get your reads on stuff. So it's really maintaining during the season. You get a lot of the bulk during spring training.
Yeah, and then the last part was having a mental coach.
Yeah,
do you still have that mental coach, or do you just dabble in that?
So I dabbled in that for one off season. It was really good. I feel like for me it was a big way for me to understand a lot of things that I didn't really understand before. I also think a lot of times too on those types of things, it can allow you to think more than you really should. It makes things relevant that really shouldn't be relevant at times. So I think anybody doing that, I think it's great. But I think a lot of that too is you got to pick and choose what's good for you. Too much information is not good all the time. So it's finding a balance. Life's all about balance. You got to find the balance for you that works, and pick and choose the right things for you.
Yeah, it's big. It's big on the PGA Tour and LPGA Tour. Obviously, having a sports psych.
Yeah.
A lot of times they tell you stuff, and you're like, oh wow, that just seems so basic.
Right.
I'm sure it's the same way with baseball.
Sure.
It's getting, like I said, executing your plan, not letting distractions happen.
Correct.
I mean, you guys got more than most with the crowd and other players. And
that's the difference between golf, hitting a baseball and playing golf is that pitcher's throwing whatever pitch he wants to pitch. In golf, that ball is just sitting right there. So especially hitting a baseball in golf, that baseball is definitely more reactionary in those types of things because you're not in control at all. You don't have the ball. So I think that's kind of one of the bigger differences.
Yeah, that's very interesting. You got anything, Nick? I got a few more questions. We can kind of get into golf.
What is your favorite alcoholic beverage?
Well, I don't drink too many.
That's on the rapid fire. I know you don't drink much.
I don't drink too much alcohol, but if I do, I'll have a White Claw every now and then. There you go. I said it.
Got to keep that figure, man.
That's
why he's so skinny.
That's right.
I love it. That's good. All right. So what? I had a couple just random questions. Like, what's the most nervous you've ever been at bat?
My nerve.
What was the situation?
To be honest with you, I don't ever get really nervous in the batter's box as much as I get nervous on deck.
Yeah.
When I'm on deck, before my first at bat every game, I get little butterflies before my first at bat every game. So I can't tell you there's been an at bat where I've been really nervous. I think maybe my first at bat, my debut at bat, I was a little jittery, but after that, I don't feel like I've ever been nervous in the box. I do get pregame jitters before every single first at bat, but as soon as I start walking up to the plate, those things go away. Yeah, so it's good though. I definitely don't mind that. It lets me know that it means something to
That's
me.
right.
So yeah,
probably get worried if you didn't get nervous.
Yeah. So if I didn't have those butterflies, that'd be a different story.
It's just like going to play a big golf tournament.
That's right.
Nick could probably talk more about that, but we always get nervous on the first tee.
Yeah.
What's about to happen?
Yeah. Where's this ball going?
Exactly right. You never know.
Never know.
So talk about pressure. I mean, how do you handle that pressure? How do you not be nervous or to the point where it's going to affect your performance?
Yeah, I think I feel like a lot of people talk about that. What makes guys really good in pressure situations, and I feel like for me, it's not that they have the ability to really rise to the occasion as much as it is they have the ability to stay where they are. They have the ability to continue to execute what makes them good. We can talk. I got a Jeter jersey, so he was great in the postseason.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know this personally, but I feel like for me, he had the ability to continue to stay with his plan. He never let the moment get too big for him. He had the ability to not necessarily rise to the occasion. I feel more so have the ability to stay within himself. I feel like for me, I have some experience with it too, especially going to the postseason. My first year, I remember being in that wild card game, being like, I'm going to hit 4 home runs today. I'm just going to hit 4 home runs. And didn't have the best game. I think I had like an infield hit or something like that. But I remember being in there trying to do too much. And I feel like in those types of situations, the players who tend to struggle aren't the ones that necessarily get nervous. They really try to do too much. And I feel like the guys who have a lot of success in those moments are the ones that are like, I don't really care what's going on. I'm sticking to what I'm trying to do.
Staying with the process.
Staying with the process.
That's just like golf. I mean, it's just that's the equivalent of going out 2 or 3 under and
right.
You're already posting a score instead of worrying about the fourth hole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And no doubt about it. So just sticking with the plan, sticking with the process of what makes you work.
Go ahead.
Another question.
Yeah, let me hear it.
I know in golf, like you get amped up, the ball goes a lot farther.
Yeah.
Does that tend to happen in baseball?
The adrenaline factor?
The adrenaline factor. Yeah, the adrenaline factor is real. I mean, obviously, I feel though for me, whenever I have that calm. Whenever I'm not trying to hit the ball far is actually when I end up hitting the ball further. Same with my driver, I swear. Whenever I don't try to kill it, it ends up going further. So for me, I feel like that, and the adrenaline factor, I think, goes into what I was talking about with the pressure. When you're in a bigger situation, that adrenaline's there. So it's having that ability to kind of calm that adrenaline, be like, nah, this is just a normal putt, or this is just a normal at bat, or whatever it is. So just having that ability to stay where you are.
It's so synonymous, isn't it? Yeah. With golf, it really is.
It's the way it is, man.
Great advice.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get technical a little bit.
Let's do it.
So you're maybe later in your career, you're going to teach hitting. A lot of great.
Would love to coach high school baseball.
There you go, that, and that was one of my questions too. Is all right. So how do you teach somebody to hit? Like, what are the better phrase of the question? Because I get this a lot on the golf side. Is like, what are the important pieces of a good golf stroke or a good golf swing? What is that for baseball? Take us through the whole thing.
Sure,
stance to swing.
I think for me, I don't really necessarily think there's a right stance. I feel like if I'm teaching,
there's a lot of different stances.
Yeah, there's a lot of different stances. So if I'm teaching a 15-year-old, I'm going to watch them hit, see what goes on first, and then honestly, I would try to find what makes them the best that they can be. Okay, well this guy's a pull hitter. Okay, this guy likes to do this, this, and this. Okay, well let's see how we can simplify that to keep him doing those certain things at a consistent basis. I mean, at the end of the day, golf and baseball, it's about being consistent. It's about if you hit a bad shot, it's not that bad. If you have a bad at bat, it's actually not that bad. It's having the ability. And this is away from teaching, but it's having the ability.
That would be more coaching.
Yeah,
is what we would call that. Yeah, and that's good.
Yeah. So I think for me, I would just try to find. I really believe this from a hitting aspect, just strictly hitting, that 90% of hitters. When they are at their best, they are looking to hit the fastball to try to hit it up the middle. I feel like they adjust off of the fastball. So for me, that would be my big pillar of what I would teach, being ready to hammer the fastball.
But talk more mechanics. I want to hear the biomechanics.
Oh, man, the mechanics. Yeah,
I'm sure you get it because you have a couple of hitting coaches right on the team you were talking about. Like, I mean, you mentioned it a little bit in the cage. You're like, I got to open up.
Yeah.
The sequencing
Sure.
is similar.
Yeah. I think for me, the big thing, if I am going to get mechanical on a baseball swing, it's definitely getting in the slot. Do you guys?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So getting in the slot, I mean, that's how you take a correct swing, whether it be golf or baseball. That elbow has got to get in to get inside the baseball or get inside the golf ball.
And for those out listening, he's moving his right shoulder externally and his right elbow into his side.
Into the slot, into the slot.
There
So that's a big component for golf and baseball. There is a correct swing in golf and baseball. So I think for me, that is being very short and compact. I think and the big way to be short and compact is to get into the slot for me. That is the one thing that kind of triggers me. Getting in the slot really triggers me to keep my hands short and compact to the ball. So that would kind of be my big thing.
Because you talked about the other day, I was listening this much, did you?
Yeah, no, I did.
This was so cool because you talked, you did a lot of drills, and that was one of the other questions that I had from one of the listeners is what are some of the drills you did?
Sure.
But you were doing like some exaggeration drills where you were intentionally trying to hit it
Sure.
to right field.
Good. I forgot about that. Good call.
Because your bad swings go left.
Correct. Yeah. So
your baseball. Yeah.
Okay. Good point. So I will expand on that. So a lot of times most of the times when I'm starting to hit BP, so batting practice, when the coach is throwing to me, I really like to work to hit the ball the other way on the ground because that lets me know I'm getting in the slot and hitting the inside of the baseball.
Opening up.
And
right?
I'm opening up. Correct.
Okay,
I'm getting where I need to be. I know that when I hit a hard ground ball to the second baseman that my swing is correct.
There you go.
So whenever I start out, I try to hit hard ground balls to the second baseman, and then from there I try to open it up to stay through the middle of the field. I definitely try to stay away from any ground ball to the pull side, to the left side. But yeah, I really try to start when I'm doing my drills, even when I'm hitting off the tee to start. I'm focusing on something to the right side of the field to focus on keeping my elbow in the slot and staying through the inside of the ball. I do have those drills to kind of get me started, and I guess in golf too, I kind of do some of the similar things, hit my wedges to kind of start and go from there. So yeah, you have that routine, you have those drills to kind of, I think most people at the professional level of any type of sport have a routine that kind of gets their swing, their shot, their blocking techniques, whatever the athlete is doing. They have their small routine to kind of get their skills in order to kind of take into the game. So yeah, everybody should have that type of thing. I have my one that I start off with hitting the ball the other way on the ground, and then I open it up from there.
Does everybody on your team do the same routine as far as it looked like you went from like tee to toss to short toss?
Yeah,
full batting practice.
So everybody's kind of different. Everybody kind of does a modified version of that.
Sure.
You'll see some guys I know. We have a guy on our team, Fernando Tatis, who he grabs the ball, throws it up, and hits it into the back of the cage, 10 swings, and that's his warm up.
Cool.
My warm up is hitting off the tee. Other guys warm up, they don't like the tee, they go straight into flips. Some guys like a side toss. There's a bunch of different things that guys what works for them, and two, what really turns on their skill to get them going. So everybody's kind of different. I'm sure in golf, Tiger does something different
Absolutely.
from someone else. So it's finding what kind of turns you on to getting ready to play that day.
Yeah, I mean, the message there is just, again, trying a lot of different drills and routines. It's just like your pre-round warm-up, as Nick can attest to, or how you practice, or you get the most out of your practice time.
Absolutely.
And then sticking to it. Do you have any type of time? I know I saw in one of your videos you talked about reflecting on the season.
Yeah.
Do you have any tools, or do you journal? Do you make notes in your phone? I mean, do you do anything like that at the end of the year to kind of assess what did I do well? What do I need to do better?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think pretty much most people at this level would do those types of things. Everybody's going to reflect on the year, try to figure out what went wrong, what can you improve on, what was good, what to continue to do. So I think each and every year I reflect on, what can I do better going into spring training. I try to come up with a plan. Hey, here's what I want to do this year. So for me, it was really looking at bats and being like, okay, well, my mind went this way during this at bat. I have the ability to really recall at bats, which is nice. So I have the ability to kind of go back and be like, okay, yeah, in May I was doing this, in June I was doing this. So that's nice to be able to kind of reflect on. But it's having the ability to kind of really know what was going on in those at bats, figuring out where they went wrong, when my mind went a certain way, and being able to be like, okay, well, this certain pitch causes me to think this. Okay, well, when this pitch happens, I need to do this to kind of get back on my plan. So I feel like for me, a lot of all those reflecting, anytime you can reflect on those to improve is great. And finding out ways to improve on that and find things that I think also that you're doing well to continue it.
How much help do you get in the big leagues with that? Do you have, like, does the head coach meet with you and talk about the season, or does your hitting coach, or
so
how does that work?
Usually at the end of the year, I think usually sit down with the GM, manager, and hitting coach, and pitching coach if you're a pitcher,
right?
But you sit down, you kind of go over, hey, we did this well, okay, we need to improve on this, we need to improve on this, and you kind of get you kind of get a guideline going into the off season, be like, okay, this is what I need to work on. Here's some exercises I need to work on. My hamstring was a little sore. I need to do this a little bit better. Things like that. From an actual skill standpoint with hitting or something like that, you kind of go through it bad. You talk to the hitting coach and be like, yeah, in the cage this year we were doing this, let's try to do this next year, or this and that. So it's always reflecting and finding those things that kind of get you right.
You want to go live and see if anybody's got any questions?
Yeah, let's go live.
Let's do it.
Was this the Periscope? No, this is
the IG live. So
So out of the loop.
right, we got to get you on the.
I'm not a social media guy. I know, I'm terrible.
So my brother's a high school baseball coach.
Okay, where at?
And in St. Albans, West Virginia, across lanes. Yes, he's in St. Albans. He had a question for you last night because he's got his 2 kids are playing.
Cool.
It's kind of how I came up. He said, "Why do you never use batting gloves?"
Yeah, I get
story behind that.
I get that one all the time. I tell you what, when I was, I never used them when I was younger, and I think once I got into pro ball,
the feel of the bat.
It was just the feel, Yeah. When I grab the bat in my hands, I feel that I just have a better feel of the bat. When I have something in between, like a glove,
Dale Murphy.
Yeah, Dale Murphy. That's right. So I feel like for me, it just gives me a better feel of the bat. I have my pine tar and rosin routine that I go through to make sure it's the perfect stick. So I have a routine that I go through with that to get them right.
So is anybody on there?
Yeah, we got some.
When they start getting on, we'll start. If you want to point it over here, just kind of go back and you be the camera guy.
You're the camera.
All right, so we got Will Myers on here doing a little podcast. Any questions, just leave them below in the comments that you have for Will or myself. We're going to get into some golf here as well.
Let's get some golf.
But we've talked a lot about baseball, and this podcast will be out in a couple days, or if not tonight. One other question, let's see, my brother had was, advice to the young kids to start training with weights? Like what time of?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I remember my dad made me do push-ups and sit-ups.
Yeah.
When I was like 12.
I think that's good. I give that advice a lot.
Absolutely, yeah.
You don't want to hurt them.
Yeah, don't want to hurt them. I think honestly, push-ups, sit-ups through high school are big. I didn't lift weights in high school.
Really?
No, I didn't lift weights in high school. Our baseball team didn't lift weights in high school. So I'm not an advocate for that in high school. I do believe though that push-ups, sit-ups are great, and I think for any type of baseball player, any type of forearm and grip is great. I think that the ability to whip the bat through the zone is very important.
Show your hands. Like, look how big his hands are. I mean, that's the thing is like
got some
meat hooks, man.
really have the ability to whip that bat through the zone. So
Yeah.
I think for me, push-ups, sit-ups are great, and any type of grip. I think even for golf, I think that's great. I think I have to be able to whip that club through the zone, through the ball. I think is important. So getting that grip strength is big.
How much are you lifting nowadays?
Right now, I'm doing in-season lifts 3 days a week right now. So not as heavy as the off-season because we are getting ready to hopefully play games again. So I'm doing my in-season lifts a few more times a week than I usually do.
If you had to describe,
question.
Go ahead.
Someone asked, "What's your favorite golf club?"
What's my favorite golf club? Like which club do I like? Okay, my pitching wedge is my scoring club. Whenever I have the pitching wedge in my hand, I feel like I can really score with that. So that's my favorite club right now.
Oh, that's great.
I loved it. Love that pitching wedge in my hands.
Yeah, so we can go into golf a little bit.
I love golf.
And you can ask me some questions, but we've played a couple times. You're a good player. I mean, you're a 3 handicap, and I know you talked a little bit about how, I mean, there's so many guys on the team and in the league that play a lot of golf.
A lot of golf, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. You know, there's
especially pitchers.
Especially
time
pitchers.
off.
Yeah, it's cool. You know, I definitely get to play on off days on the road, which is nice. I keep my clubs with me on the plane. So you know, anytime we get an off day on the road, it's you know, we have the ability to play some nice courses. So it's a lot of fun, man. But yeah, there's a lot of great golfers in baseball. A lot of guys that can really swing it out there. A lot of guys that can score. Mainly the pitchers are really good. We got a couple guys on our team right now who
who's the best?
Greg Stammen's the best right now on our team. He's a bullpen guy. I beat him once in spring training now. I got to take that from him. But consistently, man, this guy's a scratch golfer. He can really play some golf.
Well, I think based on what I've seen and the work we've done a little bit and going to do before you start playing,
that's right.
I think you're going to give him a run for
his
money.
I'm going to give him a run for his money.
Hopefully don't listen to the podcast and know that you've been like working a little bit on your golf game.
One of the questions I asked you a couple days ago was the golf courses that you got to play.
Yeah.
Since you like travel around.
Yeah.
What's
Pine Valley.
Yeah, I never got to. That was the one I didn't get to play.
You didn't get to play that.
No, I didn't get
right.
to play that
yeah,
one.
Yeah.
No, some of the guys on the team got to play that. I played some nice places. Sage Valley's one.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that one. That one's up there. Diamond Creek's great here. Cherry Hills is another one of my favorites. It's out there it's in Denver. That's probably my favorite. That's probably my favorite one I've really ever played.
Oh, wow.
Sage is great.
That's
I mean, don't get me
one.
wrong, Sage is great.
Yeah.
But Cherry Hills was a lot of fun out there. That was a great place to play.
And he gets to play Torrey Pines like
I get to
all
play
the
Torrey
time.
Pines
So
all
it's
the
not
time.
a bad spot to call your home course.
Torrey's great. I actually like the north over the south, so know that.
Okay.
North is better than the south.
There you go.
Better views.
I know this is one I was thinking about, like any rituals or like, do you have to
I'm not superstitious.
I was going to say, do you have any superstitions like before the game? Like when I played, I had to wear like the same underwear, underground. I had to wear like the same socks, everything. Like I'm like that in golf too.
Right. No, so the only thing I will do at times is whenever I come in from defense, I put my glove in my hat in a certain spot, and if I got to hit the at bat before, I'll put my glove back in that same spot. But other than that, I don't.
Really?
Other than that, I try not to. I don't want to become a slave to a superstition. Be like, oh my God, I didn't do this, I'm not going to get a hit, or I didn't do this, whatever it is. So I try not to be a slave to my superstition, but I definitely have some. I think everybody's got some.
Yeah. So who have been sort of your mentors as you've been in the league? Mm-hmm. I know that you got guys that are helping you a ton.
Yeah.
And you'll have that time to
do that
as well. Who's been the guys that helped you the most?
Yeah.
And
so
some advice.
Yeah. So I've been lucky to play with a lot of great teammates. As far as one guy, I don't know specifically if there's one guy.
Give us a couple.
Yeah. I think one of the my first getting into the league, Ben Zobrist was a big guy in Tampa. For me, he was great. Really showed me the way to play. Really showed me what it was like to be a big leaguer. To really understand, like, hey, here's the lifestyle, here's what you do, here's how you get to the ballpark, what time to get there, things like that. Him and David DeJesus were great in Tampa. I've been in San Diego. I've had a lot of teammates in San Diego. There's kind of been a cycle through, but James Shields was a big one for me. He was we had some talks about what it was like also to be a big leaguer, to be able to come to the park, to be able to get through certain things that are going on, certain injuries, certain ways you're feeling, to be able to just be like, hey man, we got to get out there and go play. And I think for me it was cool to be able to have those guys. Every single player that's played at any type of level, any professional sport, has guys to really take them under the wing, show them the ways to play the game, what's right, what's wrong, what's acceptable, what's not. So it was cool to be able to have those guys. Now I'm kind of in a spot in my career where I'm that guy now. It's kind of cool to be able to do that, to be able to show guys.
Hard to believe the veteran's 30,
God,
right?
It's crazy. It's crazy. I've always been the young guy, and now all of a sudden, like I'm not. But it's cool though. It's a different side to the game. It's a lot of fun. To be able to get along with the young guys, the rookies, to show them the way, to show them what's right, what's wrong. It's a lot of fun.
All right. What books are you reading? I know you're none right now. None?
I don't read.
No, really?
I'm not a reader. No.
Not a big school guy.
Not a school guy. Yeah, that's why I didn't go to college. It was not for me.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
What books do you read?
A lot of personal development stuff.
Okay.
Like a lot of Tim
those
Ferriss.
Are great. Yeah, those are great.
Just more personal growth.
My favorite movie is Legend of Bagger Vance.
There you go.
There you go.
I was going to say, what's your favorite golf movie? Is that
Legend
of
Bagger Vance? Yeah, that's a great one.
What about
Let's talk pregame meals or
pregame
music
meals
or playlist. What do you?
There you go.
Yeah, no, that's great. I eat a Philly cheesesteak a lot pregame. So
Really?
yeah. So we have chefs in San Diego that make us food. I'm big on a Philly cheesesteak. So that's a pretty common one for me. As far as music, I like all types of music. I like, especially pregame, anything that pumps you up. Hard rap, hard rock.
Yeah, I was gonna say we listen to a lot of rap on the course.
Yeah, rap's great. You know,
That's my genre.
But you know, my dad grew up hard rock. So when I was younger, I listened to hard rock. So I still like a lot of hard rock. My walkout song's "Kickstart My Heart," so by Motley Crue.
Okay.
So yeah, I've had that one ever since my first day of pro ball. So that's been my song. So yeah, I got a lot of variety, but anything to kind of pump you up, hard rap, hard rock.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else? I'm gonna go in personal development on you here.
Let's do it.
All right. So I mean, we've talked a lot about failures, but do you have a favorite failure that has set you up for later success? Like an example or a story.
Yeah. I think in 2016, I was going through an injury that I had a wrist problem, another wrist problem that kind of came up, and we were in late May. Yeah, it was like May 28th, somewhere around then, and I was talking to my agent about it. I was like, man, dude, this thing's really bothering me. He's like, is this something that if you go out there and play, are you going to injure it worse? And I was like, no, it's not going to really injure worse, but man, this thing's really, really struggling to, it's hurting me.
Yeah.
And he's like, listen, man, if I were you, dude, I would try to rehab it every day. I would not go on the DL. I would just go out there and suck it up and play. And when I heard that, I kind of got pissed off. I was like, damn, dude, this thing hurts, right?
Yeah. The level is like 9.
So anyway, so this is May 28th. I go in, I start, I rehab it for the next 2 weeks. Turns out June, I win June Player of the Month in the National League. I then go on to be an All-Star that year. I think in that point I was in a situation where I was really contemplating, like, hey man, this thing's really bothering me. Should I take a week off, 2 weeks off to really try to get this thing right and come back? And I feel like for me, I heard something that was like, hey man, let's go. You need to get out there and do something. And I feel like for me in that moment, it could have been something where, hey, I need to go on the DL for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden I don't win June Player of the Month and I don't become an All-Star. So for me, I think that was one of those things. It was like, hey man, no matter how you're feeling, you got to get out there and go do it. So I think, learning that in that moment to be like, hey, everything doesn't always have to be right, but you just got to get out there and go do it. So
sure.
That was one of those situations that was, a big moment for me in my career and in my life too, to be able to kind of go through that, learn from, kind of what I was thinking.
Makes you tougher, right?
Makes you tougher.
Yeah.
Learn, kind of learn what I was thinking and be able to kind of push that aside and be like, hey, I got bigger things to worry about right now. So, being tough is a big thing, man, especially at, playing a game at its highest level. It's, you got to have that.
What's an unusual habit or absurd thing that you love?
An unusual habit.
Something off the grid that we haven't talked about.
Yeah, let me think.
Something that nobody would know.
I like stale Oreos.
Okay.
I like stale Oreos.
There you go.
So when
That's
I get
a great
Oreos,
answer.
yeah, there you go. So when I get Oreos, I leave it open for a day.
On purpose.
On purpose, yeah, and I like them better. There
That's
you go.
awesome.
Is that off the wall enough for you?
I love it. All right. So when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, do you have any tips or tactics or anything you go to? Like a lot of times that's come up on the podcast, like meditation or exercise, or like, what is your relief?
I'm not.
Golf now, right?
Yeah, golf now. So I'm not big on what was the exact question?
It's when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused. So it's kind of like when you're stressed out.
Right.
What do you do?
Yeah. So I think for me, this kind of goes back to that routine and like, executing what you want to do. And I think a lot of times, just from a hitting aspect, if I get in the box, I'm like, okay, this guy's got a slider. This guy's got a fastball. There's a runner on second base. Okay. He just threw me this pitch. Okay. This slider's breaking here. Those are situations that I can run into at times, and I think when you get those when you're overwhelmed or when your focus isn't there, it is incredibly difficult. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is incredibly difficult at times to get back to what always works, but I think you have to find it within yourself at times to be able to take a step back. I know people talk about meditation. I'm not big on meditation.
Yeah,
I'm not big on the breathing. thing. I know people are, and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it works for people. So it is what it is. But I think a lot of times it's one of those things that you just have to suck it up and be like, all right, bro, I'm feeling this way, and I have got to get to here, or I won't have success. So I think it's just finding that thing, you know, being tough and finding a way to kind of get to that spot, knowing what works for you, and having the ability to understand, okay, I'm overwhelmed, I need to get back to what works. So I think that would be my answer for that.
Where did the drive come from? You're obviously super driven and very passionate about what you do. Like, where did it come from?
I think a lot of that kind of came from my dad. My dad was big at, he was big at, I could go 2 for 4, but he's like, hey, what were those other 2 at-bats about? So I think, you look back and, it was tough on you at times, but at the end of the day, I look back and I'm like, man, I'm really striving to be great here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of that came from my dad, pushing me to, hey, average is not that good. So, you got to keep pushing. You got to find a way to get better. And, for me, I want to be better than people at stuff. It's just, as an athlete, as a competitor, man, you just want to be good at stuff. So I think that for me, that's what it is. Like, hey, if I'm putting, if I'm playing baseball, if I'm playing basketball, whatever it is, I just really want to be good at it. So I guess that's where it came from.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, go ahead.
Someone wants to know if you get nervous facing Chapman, who throws over 100 miles an hour.
I actually asked him the fastest guy he faced.
Yeah, Chapman. Yeah, he's he definitely throws hard. I mean, he is not as scary, especially being a left-hander, and me being a right-handed batter. Now there are definitely righties.
Do you see the ball a little better?
I see
from
the
lefty?
Yeah. So
Okay.
right-handed batter sees a ball better from a left-handed pitcher. So now if I'm facing a guy like Kimbrel, that's a little different. He's right on right. It's a little tough. He definitely throws the ball hard, but we see 98 to 100 miles an hour pretty regularly. So you just get in there and you're like, hey, it's just a normal fastball. Because if you treat it like 100, you're gonna get amped up and you're gonna put a bad swing on the ball. So you got to just stay in there, be like, hey, it's 100. I've seen it before, and just go in there, put your best swing on it.
Gets on you a little quicker.
Gets on you a little quicker, but you keep your moves short. You can't try to get bigger with that. You just got to keep your moves short.
There was a couple of things that you said the other day that were really fascinating. You said something about getting ahead of the ball and how that made the ball get on you quicker.
Yep.
So that's the staying back piece.
Yep, staying back on it.
For the baseball guys out there.
Yep, that's right.
And the other thing was when you were practicing, you would set up a situation like 3-2 count.
Right.
First and third.
Right.
I mean, I thought that was cool. Like that's like practicing. Like Nick, we talk about that all the time, right?
Situations.
It's simulating, golf.
Yeah.
You guys are doing the same thing, which is
Yeah, absolutely.
Fascinating.
And it's one of those things, too, that one of the reasons why I do those situations a lot of times. And I like to do it like a 3-2 count a lot of times because in 3-2 counts in baseball and in real games, I have a tendency to expand at times. So I try to put myself in a situation that, hey, this is a 3-2 count, treat it normal, stay within your plan, stay on your approach, and execute that. So it's trying to put a lot of things in my mind to be like, no, these things do not matter. Let's get back to what works. So
fantastic advice.
Yeah, it's good, man. Those types of things are good. Put yourself in real situations.
Well, I think that's why I enjoy working with you already because we both have that same mindset.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. As
far as like, I just love the way you want to get better. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're playing ping pong, like, all right, what's my technique need to look like, right?
Right.
So we had the putting lesson the other day. So describe our putting lesson and how you feel like that went.
It was cool. It was eye opening for one. I've never I've had one golf lesson in the past. 4 years ago, something like that. And the putting lesson was really my first real type of golf lesson to kind of understand. But it was very eye-opening for one, to understand that my technique was awful. Two, to find out that my alignment was consistently off. That was something that I did not realize, that consistently I was aiming up left. And two, that every single time I was putting out to the right. So I think for me, kind of getting on that machine and understanding, okay, wow, this is what I'm doing. It allows me to make the adjustments that I need to make. So it was pretty cool to be able to see that type of stuff, to take a lesson like that and just be like, wow, I did not know that, and go from there. But it was definitely eye opening, and I feel like those are the types of ways that you learn to get better. You find out something like, oh wow, I need to get better at this, and you just work on it.
So it's not any different than learning how to hit, right? We've got you knew what you're doing wrong. Now you know what it looks like and feel like to do it right, and now you have your drills and your plan.
Absolutely.
All right, we have a question from Instagram.
What hobbies outside of baseball do you have? Like activities do you enjoy?
I like to play some ping pong.
Yeah,
Ping pong's my
ping
thing. Outside of golf, not too much. I play some pool
He's
every
got
now
a
and then.
simulator in his guest house,
Yeah,
so
I
he's
got
got
the simulator.
so
I hit that.
and a putting green in his
Yeah,
backyard.
putting green in the backyard. I go ride my scooter out in the park. So there you go. There's another hobby. That's about it.
That's awesome.
I know when you go to New York, you like to go to Flight Club.
Mhm, yeah.
Big sneakerhead.
Big shoe guy, yeah. But Under Armour exclusive.
Yeah.
Under Armour exclusive. Just know that.
Awesome. All right. Any other questions for asking the final?
There's one. It's
Give it-
farthest home run.
Oh yeah, there's a. I've asked you the other day.
Yeah, 467. It was in wait, where was it? It was in no, it wasn't. It was in Arizona. It was in Arizona.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly who it was off of, but it was a cutter right over the middle of the plate, hit it out to left center. It was great. Great bolt. That was my best one.
I got a good one.
Yeah,
a good one. So you were in the All-Star game, right? And you did the home run derby.
Yeah.
And your brother hit you, right?
Yeah, he hit
That
me.
was not planned.
That was not planned. No, he freaking squared me up, man. I don't know what was going on with that.
What was the talk?
What do you mean?
afterwards?
What do you mean your brother hit you?
He was throwing.
He was throwing BP.
And he hit me.
Okay.
He let one fly to the right, and I can find a video of it. So
That's great.
So it was kind of cool. We were in 3 days before the home run derby. Me and Bo, my brother Bo, he got to come to LA. We were playing a series there, and he got to throw me some BP in LA to practice for it. And then we went out and did the derby. First two swings that I hit homers on. And my first two swings, I'm like, dude, I'm winning this thing. Got tired after that, but it was a lot of fun, man. We had an awesome time. It was an experience that me and my brother will never forget. I wouldn't take back that he hit me either. I think it's a great story. It's a great story. It's a great story. So it was a lot of fun, man. We had a great time. Me and my brother still talk about it. We got the bats over there that we used. So it was cool, man. We had a great time doing that.
You've done some weird stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's like, you hit 3 home runs in one game where you guys lose by 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
That happened,
And then the other video that I thought was interesting was the guy, I guess it was one of those epic games where it was like the extra innings, all the pitchers are gone and like a catcher's throwing to you. And you almost strike out.
Yeah, almost struck out.
And then you thought it was ball 3 and you
ball 4, yeah,
ball 4 and it wasn't
tried to
ball 4. He tries to run down to first. It's a 2-2 count.
Yeah.
Then he gets in there and then he launches one out of the stadium.
That was
to reprieve yourself.
Yeah, that was great, man. That was an interesting game. Yeah, go ahead. What we got?
Yeah, 2 more questions. One is thoughts on Manny.
Manny's great.
Shadow.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah,
best cleats in the game too.
Yeah,
He's great, man. Yeah, he's great. He's a heck of a player, man. Yeah. It was great to have him on the team. He's I tell you what, it's a lot of fun watching him play third base, man. He's a freaking magician over there.
And then the other one was favorite shoe in your collection.
Favorite shoe in my collection. I mean, I got to probably go with the Jordan 3s, the new ones, the Carolina ones that just came out. Yeah, those are sick. The white and light blue. Big Carolina fan, so anything light blue, I'm a fan.
I knew we liked each other for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Carolina guy, all the way,
sir.
all the way. That's right.
But you, I mean, you're friends with Theo Pinson, right?
Yeah, we went to high school. Yeah, he was 6 years younger than me or something like that. So I would go up there and practice basketball with him a little bit. Him and Harry were up there. But yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to Theo in a while, but I know he's he's in the NBA. So it's pretty cool to see him play some high school basketball. Yep.
Nice. Anything else?
That's all we got here.
That's it.
Cool. All right. Last question.
Let's hear it.
Everybody has to answer this one.
Okay.
So if you could get a message to the world, to billions of people, and put it on a billboard,
On a billboard. Okay.
what would be your message and why?
On the spot. All right, let me think 1 second. Nick,
Sure.
what's your answer?
You never had to answer this one. Go ahead. Get it.
Answer this. Jeez, I gotta think too.
Never give up. Is that too cliche?
That's too many. That's too many
cheesy.
words. Oh, it can be. Can it be a saying?
Dude, it can be whatever you want. I've given multiple billboards. It's just like,
man.
do you have like a favorite quote you live by? Any, just a sort of a mantra or a quote or.
I mean,
just,
I've always said trust in the process.
Yeah,
Yeah,
trust
that's a
in the
great
pro-
one. Yeah,
it's
that's a
good
great one. I don't live by any sayings. I don't have any sayings I live by or anything like that. But the trust the process.
No, I think everything happens for a reason. It's probably mine.
Okay.
That would be mine.
Yeah.
Mine still never go up.
I love it. Awesome, man. Well, thanks so
I'm not
much
that
for your
creative.
time, dude.
Yeah,
This
absolutely. This is great.
This has been fun. And,
Yeah.
and really to get to know you. And I look forward to getting to know you more.
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
as
Looking
your
forward to it.
coach.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
And anything else you want to plug? You want to charity, foundation, your social platforms?
You know, I'm not
Sponsors
big
maybe. I think
sponsors,
they probably
yeah.
help you a little bit.
Yeah, give it. Shout out to your sponsors.
I don't shout them out.
Okay, all right. It's up to you.
Nah, I'm good.
All right. Cool. Awesome.
Good.
Thanks so much.
Perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
What's up, everyone? Guru back here again with a couple of things before you jump off. First, big thank you to Will for coming on the show and sharing his story and his knowledge and insights on the game of baseball and life, which was really cool. This was a fun one. Make sure you follow Will on Twitter and Instagram at Will_Myers on Instagram and at Will Myers on Twitter, and give him a social wave and say thank you. Thank you again to our sponsors, envyhemp.com. Make sure you use the promo code GURU20 for that 20% discount for life. And you can follow me and reach me on Twitter and Instagram at GolfGuruTV. That's at GolfGuruTV. So reach out. If you have a question, shoot me a DM, anything at all. Make sure you share these episodes. That's all I ask. Giving this stuff away for free. Just share it with somebody you think will benefit. And also make sure you go to the App Store and download my Golf Guru app. You can get it at a very low price. And for those of you that want to work with me, now's not a better time because we can do online lessons, which we're rolling out big time now that we're all kind of stuck inside for the most part. You can get out and make a few swings, get on the app, send it to me, and I will help you with your game. You'll be fired up once we come out on the other side of this thing. Also, check out my website at golfgurutv.net, where you can find videos, articles, and more coaching and teaching information. As like I said, if you have a question or comment, you can also email the show at golfgurushow@gmail.com, or just hit me up on the DM. This show and all episodes of the Golf Guru Show were produced by myself, Jason Sutton. Music is by Kevin MacLeod and Zach Mullett. And as I leave you with every show, the mantra that I live my life by: study, practice, teach, and then pass it on. I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for listening.